I'm back on the heating problem with this car. So this is, I don't know, part 972 of the overheating problem on this car. Up to this point, I've cleaned the block. Well, I changed the radiator, put a 4-core new radiator in it. I swapped in this multi-blade fan with clutch. I've spaced the fan out to get it in near the radiator, and finally I made this shroud to make sure. I bought a smoke machine, and I could see that lots and lots of a lot of the air was going down underneath and coming up underneath the front of the car. So I made the shroud to stop that. I put this liquid intelligence flush through the engine over multiple days, and it's supposed to clean the caked on, build up in all the cooling ways. It builds up over, well, in this case, decades. This motor's I think it's from 1974, and it was run with just straight water for a long time. My uncle actually fitted this motor into the car. My dad's run it, and for a long time he ran it on. People didn't really tend to use coolant. Over here in Australia, where we are, we don't have to worry about engine blocks freezing, so there's no need to put in something to stop it from freezing. So, you get a build-up, and the idea is that build-up stops the heat transfer out of the engine block into the water. So I did this multi-day flush, and at this point I gave this a real test. A couple of weeks ago, it was really, well, it was over 30 degrees centigrade. I'm guessing that's around 90 Fahrenheit at a rough guess, but anyway, it's warm. And this thing, if you get air through the radiator, it will actually keep it down where it should be. It's not sitting on the thermostat, I don't think, but it's getting down 180. I think the thermostat's 175. I don't see it switching, cooling, and then warming back up off a thermostat, so I don't think the thermostat's holding the temperature. So, but I took it for a drive. I thought it was just going to be a little run down the freeway, and the person that it was with, the car club I'm in, and he decided to go the scenic route, and he took us around some interesting little detours, some bits of road I'd never been on before that he knew, because as a kid he rode them on motorbikes and all that sort of stuff. But we stopped several times for minutes at a time waiting for people to regroup, and then we got stuck at a lady controlling traffic because they were doing some mulching on the side of the road, and this thing got to the top of the temperature gauge, which reads at 250, so it could have been over 250 Fahrenheit. But it didn't boil, and a guy in the car behind me said that it didn't puke anything. So we are very close to being right, and I just want to have this so I don't have to worry about getting stuck at traffic lights or going into the city and getting stuck in heavy traffic. My latest attempt will be this thermofan. It is a 16-inch, and I checked, and that's about as big as I can get onto my radiator. Here's the information on it. But they're both 21. Oh, it'll be this one because it's 12 volt. So 2120 CFM, and I had another one that I tried. I did actually try a thermofan before, and it was, it's a standard thermofan, but it's I've seen that most of these things are about half the CFM that this one is. Also, I put this one straight onto the radiator, as you would normally do, without a shroud. So with this one I'm going to make a different shroud. I won't try and describe it now, but I'm going to make a shroud like I watched this guy DD's Speed Shop, and he uses these Delta fans, and I've noticed that he buys the whole package. I've noticed how they make their shrouds, so I'm going to copy what they do. And I'm hopeful that, since even on a stinking hot day, and also when I drove off after being stopped, both the times I got stopped for a longer period on this drive, the temperature came back down quite quickly as soon as we got air through. So I would think that this fan would be pulling a reasonable amount of air, but, well, you know, it wasn't pulling enough. So hopefully this will actually get the car's temperature under control. So I will pull this out and see where we go from here. If we look here, the fan, as you can see, is a long way down. There's a lot of that radiator with no fan over it, and the bottom of the fan goes underneath into the tank and the bottom past the core on the radiator. The setup I've got in there gets the fan appropriately close to the radiator, I think. I don't want it much closer than that in case it starts to strike the core. But yeah, that's a lot of radiator, which I don't think is going to get pulled through really by this fan, even with that shroud on. So the hope is that by getting it up to the thermo fan up into the middle of the radiator, I can get it so it's pulling through the whole radiator, not just the bottom half or so. Well, we're up to, I've cut this out, and I'm going to fold it along these lines. I cut this initially with one of these, that one. Cut it like that, and when I put the fan on, I realised that this was cutting into the space where the fan was. So then I thought, alright, well I guess I need to cut it full circle after all. And then, of course, I found out that I've got these little gaps here. But what I'm going to do, I've got this strap. It's nice handy having some stock in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut two pieces of this and bolt them onto this behind there, and then drill and tap. So I've got something to screw into on the back of this. Now, it turns out I thought I was going to have to make this in two parts because I thought my finger brake was not big enough to make these folds. As it turns out, I've probably got 50mm or so extra. So my finger brake is bigger than I thought it was. Well, this is an interesting, well, I don't know, case of the difference tools make. So this part here, this is the old cowl or shroud. I folded this over the corner of a piece of metal in my machine shop, and I just folded it over and hit it with a hammer, and you get these soft corners, and it was, you know, it did a good enough job. But you see the soft corners in here, along here, and so I then bought a finger brake, and this was made with the finger brake, and you just see the corners you get and the accuracy. And I was watching, I think it's Carter Auto or something the other day. This guy is on a bit of a mission to say that you don't have to have expensive tools to restore a car. You can do all sorts of things by hand with limited tools. Now I could probably have got, I don't know, would I have got crisper edges on this another way? Maybe I could have made some folding tongs or something like that. But the difference having the tool makes isn't that you go from not being able to do it to being able to do it. You go from being able to do it and it being fine and absolutely good enough to being able to do it and it looks like it's been more professionally made. So that's just a little aside. Just notice that pulling this apart. Here it is with, I haven't folded the sides yet. I'm pretty well not obscuring. I could take this out a bit further maybe, but there's actually not a lot here. It's actually within a couple of mil to the inside diameter of this that it comes down to here. So I think that that's going to be plenty good enough. I've got this little undercut here. I mean, really, I can put a bit of sealer around there. So I've delayed it for as long as I can. It's time to fold the sides. I just did that with jigsaw. They're not beautiful, but it'll be fine. So I've got a little bit of potential leakage down on these corners, but I'll just put some sealer on there. But basically we have the fan on, and this is pretty close to being in line with what's behind it. So, and it's out past the fan, so that should not be restricting airflow. I'll put a rivet in each of these corners. It wouldn't fall apart anyway, but I'll just put a rivet in there because I can. Once I've done those rivets, I will, I've got the old cowling or shroud, and I've got an angle bracket on the side that I use to screw the old cowling on. They're riveted on, but I'll drill the rivets out and I should be able to swap them onto this, all things being as they ought to be. But we are getting there. I've got it in now. Had to put some little spaces in here. I made the thing maybe 12 mil too narrow. I mean, it's pretty well covering the radiator. I don't think that little bit on the sides is going to be a problem. I'm going to hot wire this straight onto those wires and start the fan up, and then start the car up, or vice versa, because yeah, I might start it without the fan on, get it to temperature faster. But I'll do that hot wiring. I want to do something about this bracket for the alternator, just to tidy that up, but I won't worry about that now. Let me pull some wires and see if this, I'll be very, very disappointed if this doesn't get enough air through the radiator to keep it cool. Well, I've had it running now for about half an hour. I can see I've got a little coolant leak there to deal with, but I actually deliberately heated it up to, I had the needle up around about here. I took it up to about the 185 mark, halfway between the 134, 210, and I then turned the fan on and I closed the bonnet, so I was emulating actual conditions. It's been running now for going on half an hour, and for the first time since I've owned it, it's holding temperature. It seems to be sitting on the thermostat to me, which has been what I've been aiming for since the beginning. So it would appear that I have actually managed to achieve my goal. I've now wired in the fan. I tied this. I would have liked to have that wire come out on this side because I've got all my control over here next to where the thermostat sensor goes into the heater hose here, and I would like to do that, but there's not a lot of clearance between the hub of the motor and that pulley, and if you turn upside down there's this little tab up here and it hits. So we find ourselves, I mean, no big deal, the wire just, sun's coming through there, wire just comes from the other side. I've top cable tied it on, and I have a relay set up here and the thermostat. I just mounted them to this existing bolt, and it's nice and close to where the sensor is. There's a little rubber piece that sits in here with a groove in it that means that this capillary tube doesn't get squashed, and it tends to cause a leak. I've put this Permatex sealant on it, so I've got that all sealed up, it's not leaking, and this just allows you to set the temperature that the fan comes on and goes off. There's about a 10-degree hysteresis, so police are interested in something, or it's a lot of activity. Yes, this thermostat just allows you to, this adjustment allows the set point. There's about a 10-degree hysteresis. It switches on 10 degrees higher than the switches off. So it comes up, switches on, say at 185, and then it'll run the fan until it gets down to 175, and then alternate between those. I put in a fuse box. I bought a fuse box and thought it'd be good to have some spares. There is a sealed lid that goes on that, and for the life of me I cannot find it. It's around here somewhere, but I don't know where. It's probably over here somewhere, but for the life of me, and my wife's had a good look as well, but I have not succeeded. While I was here, I discovered that this is a, can't really get there. There's a solenoid or a relay here, this one here, that has a wire straight from the battery, and that's a solenoid or relay that runs the starter motor, but it was hanging, and so that main wire that comes in here is unfused, and there's a screw in a little bolt, and if that fell forward onto the motor, we would have some serious trouble. So I drilled, maybe I can see it here, I drilled a new hole and reattached that to the firewall, and the wire I ran down along with a bunch of other wires. It comes up here and hooks into here. So I took it for a drive yesterday, and the motor is like the engine temperature is being managed properly now. It seems to me, from piecing this all together, it was odd. The story is a bit odd because the car ran warm. I remember it smelling warm when Dad had it, and that went in and got this new nice paint job, and the body came off, was all stripped back to metal. And during that time we took the opportunity, and I got a new super duper. The radiator core was getting on a bit, it was perforated, and so I thought, well, while I was at it, while everything was apart, I'd get another radiator core put in. And I went and I got the full super duper 4-core copper radiator, and that was supposed to future-proof me. Then when I got back and we started running it again, it was just running hotter than I remembered it. So what I've been able to piece together is that this 4-core copper radiator core probably, almost certainly, is more dense than the previous one that was in it, and it resists, like it puts more resistance into the system, and so a fan on the back of it has more trouble pulling air through it. So I think that putting this super duper heavy core in actually made the situation worse, because when you're on the open road, yeah, sure, no problem, it's pushing air through, and it's always been fine when you're running down the road. But as soon as you stop, the various attempts I've had in the past, the fans were just not enough to just get the air through the radiator like it should, and this has actually caused the overheating. So ironically, it seems like it's possible that the super duper radiator core that I got put in has been really the cause of the problem. And now I've got this shroud in, and that's covering the whole core, and that large diameter fan, 16-inch fan, and as you can see, it's pretty well covering the whole width of the radiator. And I've got it in the center of this shroud, and that shroud is, like I said, covering the whole core. It's pulling through the whole radiator core now when you're idling, and I think that might be, sadly, that the reality that my went for the top Rolls-Royce core, and that may have actually been the source of my problems. So anyway, it's working now. I'm working on the final stages of it just to see what's going on. I'll have to set this temperature, cut in, cut out. I took it for a drive yesterday, and I believe that the fan ran, once we got on the freeway, it was running all the time, but with all, you're driving along 100 kilometres an hour, 60 mile an hour, and the air is getting forced through the radiator just by how fast you're going. and the fan will be kind of irrelevant. So I was thinking that I'd run this, I was hoping it'd stay on about 175, but talking to ChatGPT, checking in with it, and I will do some extra checking, but my uncle, who's the one that I've always run this stuff by, he was saying that the engine is actually fine to run warmer than you might think. And it seems that this would be very comfortable running around 185, 195 Fahrenheit. I had this set to cut the fan in at around 165, so I think I need to turn that just around a bit more and get it so that it holds them. It cuts in maybe 185 and then cuts out, or maybe even 195, cuts out 175, 185 even, 180, something like that. And then that would mean that the fan would not have to run when we're driving, because when I'm driving at 100, it's very stable and has for a long time around 185. So if we have it so it cuts out, the fan doesn't come on to 195, it should never get there, or only would get there when you're idling, and then it'll pull it back to 185, something like that, 190 to 180, and it should just cycle between those two. And then when we're on the open road and it's pushing along, the fan should be able to cut out and not be running all the time. But for the moment, this is a big win and something I've been, well, striving for probably going on 10 years. We persist. Anyway, that'll do for the moment.